Okay, now the speaker today, everybody, she's a dog person. Oh, so that makes you love her immediately. But we're really thrilled to have Kearci Smith. Kearci is beloved in the community. She got her Bachelor of Science at Texas Tech. She holds multiple certifications, including basic life support and advanced cardiac life support. She's a certified exercise physiologist through the American College of Sport Medicine. She's a member of the Texas Association of Cardiac and Pulmonary Rehab. She hosts the Better Breathers Club that many of you probably go to at the Heart Hospital in Plano when she's not telling jokes. And, well, actually, she's that goes to her meetings. She's, doing some magnificent things. And Dick and I have actually introduced other speakers where we throw in something at the end like, yes, Dr. Maggetto jumps out of planes, in her part-time, or somebody races. Kearci really has climbed Kilimanjaro. I mean, I'm telling you, Mount Everest, Everest. I've got all the 7 summits anyway. So she went to base camp of Mount Everest, and that's for real. And she is a triathlon, and that's for real. I mean, so we're very, very thrilled to have you here.
Thank you.
Join me in welcoming Kearci Smith.
Hey, everybody. So I have been in pulmonary rehab at, 4 years at University Medical Center in Lubbock, Texas, for 4 years, and then now I've been at the Heart Hospital, Baylor, Plano, for 5. So I have been doing pulmonary rehab for 9 years, and I've been involved in a couple of, actually once a year, I come back to the Pulmonary Fibrosis Warriors and help speak or present information, but I love this community. Patients helping patients is so important because you know how each other feels, you know how to interact with one another. Bill has just been a spearhead for incredible work with you guys. So I'm so blessed to be here and get to talk to you all about pulmonary rehab and what it does and how beneficial it is for you. But first I wanted to share my babies with you. And so this is Harley. She's my little 11-year-old lab. And then Penny down there is my Pembroke Cardigan Corgi. She's 8 months old. These two, I have more pictures of my dogs on my phone than I do of my stepkids, so I guess they're very important to me. But I'm married to a firefighter in Grand Prairie. He's also a paramedic and rescue diver. So we're both very medical. We both race triathlons and half marathons, anything you can throw at us, we're up for the challenge. So as Shelley mentioned, we trekked to base camp of Mount Everest in October. And so these are a couple of pictures of that experience. And so this is actually standing in base camp right here. These are prayer flags, and then up here is Mount Everest. It was just beautiful. These pictures don't do it justice, but I wanted to at least share the beauty of God's creation and just show you that anything is possible as long as there's hope, there's drive, and there's people that tell you that you're not crazy. So this is me over here. You can probably tell from the look on my face that I'm exhausted, tired. This is at 18,000 feet. So Colorado or Denver or even like Colorado Springs, the highest Pikes Peak is about 14. So we're over that. And then there's a whole nother Pikes Peak on top of that to get to the top of Mount Everest. So I have no desire to do that. So, but we made it to base camp, and that was a really incredible thing that I did in my life. So I love to share that with you guys, and remember that as long as you have someone behind you, you can do anything. Mm-hmm.
Tell everybody how many other females made it to base camp.
Just me. So we had 20 people in our group, and only 4 of us made it to base camp. I think our schedule was a little aggressive, but I'm really hard-headed, stubborn, and I was going to make it regardless. So, yes, I was the only female that made it out of, there was 4 females in the group. So, and as Dick and Shelley alluded to, I do always start off my sessions with a joke. So I'm going to tell y'all a corny joke really quickly, so please oblige me. Okay, what's the difference between a poorly dressed man on a tricycle and a well-dressed man on a bicycle? A tire. Okay. Oh. I'm gonna hide from all the tomatoes. Oh, I should have. Okay, so I'll get started on my presentation. So, has anyone ever participated in pulmonary rehab? Good. Most of the time it's a prerequisite to getting transplant, or it's just a part of your journey along the way to help you stay healthy, and just make sure that you're getting educated, that you're building, a foundation to where you can keep on going and keep living through this, okay? So pulmonary rehab is a multidisciplinary team. So we have respiratory therapists, we have nurses, exercise specialists like myself, dietitian, even our chaplain service will talk about stress management, things like that. So we provide education, we provide support, we provide exercise in a safe environment so that you can build yourself up to be able to tolerate activities of daily living better, improve your emotional health, and overall just improve your quality of life. So what you can expect is an 8 to 12 week program, usually billed under insurance, okay? And it's usually about 2 to 3 days a week. So it depends on the location. There are a limited number of locations here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, but if you are interested in learning more or wanting to get involved in a pulmonary rehab or just seeing if you're qualified to do it, you can see me afterwards and maybe we can help you get hooked up. I can hand you an order form to go get signed at your doctor's office to take with you to your appointment and so on. So I would really like to get you hooked up with an appropriate location if that's something you want to do. So the benefits of pulmonary rehab is just managing your condition in general, gaining strength and endurance, managing your oxygen needs. So with pulmonary fibrosis, sometimes your oxygen need is a little bit higher than the normal population or someone that has COPD or asthma. So we like to help you understand what your needs are outside of the home, but also when you're exercising or when you're simply doing things around the house. So improving your overall quality of life, doing your activities of daily living a little bit easier, things like that. My favorite thing about pulmonary rehab is just seeing the switchover. So it could be 4 weeks in, it could be 8 weeks in, it could take the whole 12 weeks, but I love to see the difference it makes in someone from day one till that last day that they come and they graduate from the program. And yes, when I say graduation, we have a cap and gown, we play pomp and circumstance, and you walk the stage and everything and get your diploma. And it's a really fun experience. And just to see that self-confidence build is one of the most incredible feelings and one of my most favorite reasons why I work in pulmonary rehab and have for almost 10 years. Exercise. I thought you said extra fries. Yes, exercise. So anyone just blurt out some benefits of exercise. They could be from the list or something that benefits you.
You feel better.
You feel better. Anyone else? Not exercisers, are you? I'm kidding. Okay, so improves your blood pressure, heart rate, circulation, stamina and endurance.
Bone density.
Bone density, good. And I didn't even put it up there. Good job. Losing weight, so yep. Managing your blood sugars if you're having trouble with diabetes. Improves your balance, your core strength, overall mood, how you're feeling better. Also maybe improving your sleep a little bit. Some sleep schedules get off whenever you're having struggles with an illness or just can't quite get that routine going in your lifestyle. So exercise can help you sleep a little bit better too. Any other ones you can think of?
Pulmonary improvement.
Good, yeah. It helps you manage your diet and lead to more further, better decisions is what he said. Good.
I said pulmonary improvement.
Good. Yeah, your lung function, the damage to the lungs can't be reversed, but your output sometimes can be improved by exercising those muscles and getting stronger. Correct. Good. All right. So how much exercise? So I don't want you to be scared of this number, 30 to 60 minutes. That's kind of an overall goal, okay? So you have to start somewhere, and that may just be 2 or 3 minutes and stop, take a break. Maybe do 5 more minutes, stop, take a break. It's all about starting where you are. So you can't just go and get on a treadmill or get on the bike and sit there for 30 minutes and just struggle through the whole thing, and you're going to really get burnt out. You're going to stop. You're going to get discouraged, and that's not what we aim to do. We want to build your confidence. So start out easy, start out slow, and build yourself up to the 15 to 20 minute increments. So we recommend doing 1 or 2 pieces of cardiovascular equipment. So maybe walking on the treadmill or just walking on the track if you have a local rec center. Recumbent bike is a really good one if you have orthopedic issues. The arm ergometer, simply just for upper body exercise. New steps are usually for physical therapy or types of rehab facilities, so you may not find that exact piece of equipment in a gym. But those are really good. You use your arms and your legs together to build your strength, upright bikes, and so on and so forth. So cardiovascular exercise is the most important segment of lung health or cardiovascular health. Then you can complement those with 10 to 15 minutes of stretching or resistance training with hand dumbbells or with some of the machines at the gym. Always start out really light, like lighter than you think is light, and just do, 10 repetitions, 2 sets of that, and then work your way up from there. So you don't want to start out too strong or you're going to get sore and you won't want to exercise probably the next day. At the end, whenever we wrap up, I'm going to show you a few stretches that you could do while you're in your chair watching TV, and I'll send home a few other handouts with you guys that could possibly help you also. You can do those while you're just sitting. So, like I said, the program is pretty self-paced, so whatever you feel like you can handle, that's where we start. And then do not ever exercise yourself to exhaustion. That's not the point, and you're not going to get any extra benefit from working yourself that hard. When you feel short of breath, that's whenever you stop and take a break. So on the next slide, I have a shortness of breath scale. The fancy term for shortness of breath is dyspnea. So 0 to 10, 0 being nothing at all. So hopefully right now you're seated, not doing anything but listening. You're at 0. You don't feel short of breath at all. Maximal, I would maybe correlate that to if you've ever been in a hospitalization where you couldn't breathe and you were scared. Now that's maximal, okay? We only want you to exercise between about a 2 and a 5. So it's normal to feel a little short of breath whenever you're exercising. That's science. Your heart rate goes up, your blood pressure goes up, your breathing rate is going to go up so that you can get more oxygen to the body so you can do your exercise, okay? you have to find a spot where I like to say is comfortably uncomfortable. Okay? So follow me. When you're exercising and you start feeling slightly short of breath, that's great. If you can carry on a conversation with the person next to you or to your therapist, that's great. That's probably more of a moderate range. Somewhat severe is probably where you start panting a little bit. Severe is where I want to cut you off. So if you start feeling scared or worried or thinking that that's your max, then you need to stop right there. Take 1 or 2 minutes. Do some pursed lip breathing or deep breathing, which I'm going to show you in a little bit too, and work through it. Once it calms down, then start up again and exercise to the same feeling, okay? So over time, you are going to be able to go longer, and it's going to take longer for you to get to that spot of fear or too short of breath. Does that make sense? Okay. So during our exercise sessions, we check your oxygen saturation. So everyone probably has a pulse oximeter, hopefully. You can buy them at Walgreens or CVS or on Amazon, even at Aldi. If anyone goes by there, they have pulse oximeters. So grab one. It's very important to make sure that your oxygen saturation is always above what number?
90.
90, I like it. Good, golden number. So if whenever you're exercising, your oxygen saturation drops below 88%, then you might require a little bit of oxygen. You may need a little bit of extra power or juice to go, okay? So if you're on room air and not on oxygen, your doctor hasn't prescribed it yet, we'll be assessing if your saturation drops below that 90, 88 mark, and that we might send a message to your doctor to say, hey, they may benefit from some oxygen, okay? We really want to keep that percentage above 90 because then it keeps all of the oxygen going to those vital organs, okay? So, oxygen needs may go up when you're exercising too. So, for example, if you're on a 2 at rest or at home or sleeping, when you're up moving around doing activities or exercising, you may need a little bit higher flow. You may have heard your doctor say, don't adjust it unless you absolutely have to, which is true, and I want you to listen to them. But when you're exercising, your muscles need more oxygen. So, just when you're exercising, you can bump it up to 3 or 4, making sure that your oxygen saturation stays above 90%. Then when you're back to the resting state, you can turn it back down, okay? You're not going to get oxygen toxicity from turning it up just a little for exercise because it's warranted, it's needed, okay? Does that make a little sense? Okay. Any questions so far? Yeah?
What are the symptoms of oxygen toxicity?
Good question. So if you're on a higher flow of oxygen, you may feel a little bit dizzy. You actually may feel dried out down your nasal passages. Your nose is probably going to get a little bit dried out as well. Some of my folks have had nosebleeds from it, but oxygen toxicity more or less makes you feel a little bit dizzy or sometimes a little euphoric in a way. So makes you just not feel normal. I mean, it's just it doesn't happen often. So because then we'd kind of all be addicted to oxygen because we all breathe in the air. But if your flow is too high, you may feel just a little bit tired, more tired or run down. But you can talk to your doctor about those symptoms too and just make sure that your flow is on the right for you. Most of the time your oxygen gets delivered or ordered and delivered by a person who knows nothing about oxygen. And they say, here, turn it on and leave it on 2, but your oxygen need may be higher than that. Your doctor needs to go over that with you or your pulmonary rehab team so that you understand your oxygen needs, okay?
Got a question. I've been looking at this oxygen toxicity issue. The best data I can find is if you're on a cannula. The oxygen is only adding about 0.04% to what's actually getting into your lungs because you're getting a lot of air. Can you really get into toxicity if you're on a cannula?
See, and that's what I was saying. It's very rare. Unless you're on one of those very high flow cannulas, if you're over 8 to 10 to 15 liters of oxygen at a time, then that's where you might see some toxicity. But in a nasal cannula, not really. It's very, very rare. So, good questions. Any others? Excellent. So, the other thing that we check is your blood pressure. A normal blood pressure should be 130/80 or less. That's the new American Heart Association's guideline, okay? When you're exercising, it should go up, and then it should come back down post-exercise. That's a normal response to exercise. With your heart rate, a good resting heart rate is from 60 to 90 beats per minute, okay? If you're exercising, your heart rate should be above 90, and I would say I like to keep my patients 120 or less on the top number, but that's very individualized depending on the severity of your disease. Maybe you have heart disease, and you're on blood pressure medicine that keeps your heart rate really low or managed. Maybe you have a pacemaker that doesn't allow you to go over a certain number. So those are guidelines that are individualized. But normally I would say 90 to maybe 120, 125 is probably highest for my patients. I really don't like to go much higher than that unless it's an individual basis and we're watching you very closely. Any questions on target heart rate? Okay, and so if we have patients with diabetes, we do check your blood sugars. We want to make sure that it's above 100 before you go do your exercise, because with exercise it helps the sugar soak up into your body better. So it can drop your sugar whenever you're doing the exercise. So make sure you know the symptoms of hypoglycemia, dizziness, extreme thirst, sweating profusely, or feeling faint or dizzy, any of those things, if you are managing diabetes with this too. And then assessing for orthopedic issues. So we have all kinds of non-weight bearing exercise. Swimming or water aerobics is still even possible for you even if you have oxygen on. Some put the long hose on and put the tank or portable oxygen concentrator further away from them, but then they get in the water with the nasal cannula on. So as long as you don't submerge your face in the water, you can still participate in water aerobics, which is sometimes helpful for those with orthopedic issues. Same goes for if you're taking a shower. You can wear your oxygen in the shower. Because it's just a plastic tubing. If there's any water in there, just give it a shake, and it should come out. It shouldn't be able to get down in the tubing, but if it does, like I said, just give it a shake. If that stays in there, then you may have to change out your cannula, but more often than not, you don't have to worry about that. But that's important to remember. Any questions? Any questions again? Keep going. Okay, this joke says, fitness experts say your muscles need plenty of rest between workouts. Your last workout was 17 years ago. So, knowing how you qualify for pulmonary rehab, speak with your doctor about your lung condition. Have your doctor send a referral over to a location. We have certain criteria that we have to meet to bill with your insurance. So that's going to be screened by one of our pulmonary rehab specialists. So the pulmonary function tests are the main thing we look at. So everybody's been in the big bubble and you've had to do the breathing tests or blow into the tube and all of that stuff, right? It's so much fun. And so we look at those scores to make sure you qualify. We assess your oxygen need and then also make sure that your lung diagnosis qualifies as well. Some people with lung disease don't qualify. Some people's pulmonary function tests are strong even though you have the disease. So there are some stipulations, but that's how you qualify. These are a list of some of the diseases that we see in pulmonary rehab. So we got this was supposed to be post-inflammatory pulmonary fibrosis. So there's been some science behind, having birds in your home, and then once the bird is removed from the home, that the pulmonary fibrosis kind of gets a little bit better or stays the same, and that stimulus is gone. So that's post-inflammatory pulmonary fibrosis. So interstitial lung disease. I wanted to hit on this with your group specifically because interstitial lung disease is quite the umbrella term. Okay, so we have to have a more specific diagnosis than just ILD to qualify you for pulmonary rehab. So it has to be, one of the terms under that umbrella. So pulmonary fibrosis, post-inflammatory or idiopathic. So make sure that your doctor tries to specify that, or your medical records aren't going to match what the order is for, and then it could hinder you from getting into the program because insurance is tricky, and if they do an audit, then you're paying for the pulmonary rehab if we went through with it. So that's one thing I want to mention to you guys. So any questions on that? Yes.
So I completely understand the insurance thing.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of have an allergy to insurance companies and Medicare practicing medicine, but that's a political issue.
Right.
My question is, if we want to get help from someone like you, and for whatever set of reasons, we don't want to mess with insurance.
Yep.
Maybe we want to save that for when we're a little further along, or
Sure.
We just maybe want to check in on how's my exercise and diet today, because I want to get it better. Is there any way to get help from folks like you outside of insurance?
Right. So there's one program that we offer at the Heart Hospital, and it's called our Safe Start program. And we allow you to come for 8 visits, but it's an out-of-pocket payment. So it's $500 for 8 sessions for pulmonary rehab. You still get us, you still get your dietitian consult or chaplain service, stress consult, things like that. So I'm unaware that many other groups actually provide that, but it's so it's about 4 weeks of a program.
Just to follow up on that, so we live just north of Austin.
Yeah.
Have you done anything with, if I shared my Fitbit data with you, where we can do a Zoom meeting and just, you tell me what you think, how I'm doing based on what you're seeing in terms of my activity level and stuff?
Sure. And I'm always open to helping you guys just on an individual basis. So if Bill, you want to share my email or something, we can get hooked up after class for sure. And just to help and see how you're doing, and maybe even encourage you to do some other things or try some stuff. So yeah, I'd be willing to help you. Okay.
Big offer. Thank you. That's a big offer.
Yeah. Well, and I just want to do what I can and share my expertise with you guys. And if like you say, it's hard to always qualify under insurance, and so if you don't have that, then what do? And just a regular personal trainer may or may not have experience in your disease or orthopedic issues or advanced lung problems. So yes, I would definitely be willing to help on an individual basis for sure. Okay, so getting started with pulmonary rehab. So I already talked about consulting your doctor, but also one thing I didn't mention was the 6-minute walk test. Have all of you performed a 6-minute walk test before at your doctor's office? If you haven't, it's a way to help you assess your oxygen needs. So they set up usually a 50-foot to 100-foot course, and you walk for 6 minutes. So you have a rolling clock for 6 minutes, and if your oxygen saturation dips below 89, 88, then you qualify for oxygen. So then the nurse will order you, or the doctor will order you oxygen, and they'll have it delivered to your home. The 6-minute walk actually tells us a lot too about how functional you are and where to start you in the program. So if you're incredibly short of breath or you can barely walk 100 feet, then I know where to start you on seated equipment and build you up before we start doing weight-bearing exercise and stuff like that. So also, prior to coming to pulmonary rehab, if you have an injury or back pain, or you've had knee surgery or hip surgery, any of that stuff, you want to finish your physical therapy before you come to pulmonary rehab. The two cannot be billed at the same time because they're similar. They're not the same, but they're similar disciplines. So insurance doesn't recognize that as separate disciplines, so they think it's the same thing. So physical therapy has to be completed before then. Their main focus is to help you improve pain, improve function, and move better, okay? There's also occupational therapy that helps you with your activities of daily living or getting back to certain things in your job if you've had an injury or an illness or a hospitalization. So those are two things that might be something to look into. Also, since there's stipulations and criteria to meet in pulmonary rehab, if you do have issues and you need to see somebody, physical therapy can be ordered at most any time. So if you go to your doctor and say, I'm short of breath or I'm feeling back pain, you can ask them to prescribe you some physical therapy, and they could send you to a few sessions under insurance. So that may be another thing you can look into as well. Okay? Any questions on these? Yeah.
On occupational therapy, when I was taking pulmonary rehab, what occupational therapy consisted of was helping the patient understand how to move.
How to move.
How to bend over, how to pick things up, how to work in what they call the strike zone. Below the shoulders, below the knees.
Okay.
And so that description there seems like it lacks what I want to try to cover was get covered was the things that you learned in pulmonary rehab through occupational therapy helps you just move around your home, take a shower, put something on a shelf, fold the laundry, things like that.
Yeah. So.
Or use a vacuum cleaner.
Right. So you're.
How to move and not get operated.
Right. So he's talking about occupational therapy, how it helped him to learn how to move better, conserve energy, move to where he's not so winded, or use things around the house to help him get tasks done. And so whenever you come to pulmonary rehab, there are individual education sessions every time, and we do touch on those things in class. But specifically, conserving energy as best as you can. Sit while you're folding the laundry, or if you have your plates on the second shelf of the cabinetry, move them down to the bottom so you don't have to stand up on a stool and reach so high. Things that you don't use often in your home, put them somewhere else, and put the things that you do use often closer to you. If you have trouble moving around in the home, have an oxygen tank at your chair in the living room, and then one in the bedroom, or something you can plug into instead of dragging it around with you. Shower chairs, the handheld faucet, so you can shower and still conserve energy, because that's a really hard thing to do. Are there any other examples? The strike zone, you talked about that. So he described their strike zone as kind of a positional place. So you don't want to go out. What we call it is staying in the tube. Okay, so staying in your axis points, and so if you're reaching across your body, that's taking more effort than moving over one and reaching up instead. Okay, so putting your body in position to pick up something. So if this is on the floor, you want to breathe in through your nose, and then when you're going down, breathe out, because you're going to push on that diaphragm. And the diaphragm is what helps you breathe. So breathe in and out, reach down, pick up as you come back up. Okay? So there are certain things. I will go over a few more as we do the stretching and practice the pursed lip breathing at the end. Okay?
And one other comment about the 6-minute walk. Everybody seems to want to do really well on it, but you really need to fail it so that you'll qualify for oxygen if you're a new patient. Don't do so well, they say you don't need oxygen.
Yeah, with the 6-minute walk, we're not trying to see, you be a superhero. We're trying to see, how far you can go, but also, we want to help you where your need is. So, I don't want to say don't overachieve, but if you need the help, but then you overdid it and, their need isn't seen on the test, then that doesn't qualify for what you need. So, Okay, so we're going to practice a couple of breathing techniques that we use in pulmonary rehab. So everyone's probably heard of pursed lip breathing, and that you learn in the hospital usually, but we're going to practice it now. It's also very, very, very good for just like almost meditation breathing, or while you're sitting quietly watching TV or in between on commercials, you can do these paced breathing exercises. So the first one, it really helps you to exhale better. So that's why we use this one. Also, if you're on portable oxygen and it's that pulse flow, if you're breathing in through your nose, it's signaling the oxygen to give you air. Okay? So if you're not, and you're just breathing mouth air or shallow, you're not going to get the full breath of air that you need. So we're going to practice this pursed lip breathing first, then we'll move on to diaphragmatic breathing. So pursed lip breathing, you smell the roses for 2 seconds, you blow out the candles for 4 seconds. Okay, so everybody sit up a little bit. Okay, get relaxed. Okay, so we're going to breathe in for 2, in through the nose, and blow out. Good. We're going to do one more time. Okay, in through the nose. Good. So you notice when you do the pursed lip breathing that mostly you're just breathing in through your lungs, right? Your chest rose. Okay. So the next one we're going to do is a deeper breath. Anyone ever played an instrument? Played an instrument or been a singer or tried to sing? I'm a car singer, so if you're going on a road trip with me, you're going to get a concert. So in order to get a good full sound when you're blowing an instrument or you're singing, you have to get that deep belly breath, okay, in order to get the full sound. So this diaphragmatic breathing is a little easier when you're seated or whenever you're lying flat. So since you're all seated, it should be pretty simple for you, but it takes a little coordination also. So the same thing, we're still going to breathe in for 2 and out pursed lips for 4. But I want you to set one hand on your chest, so like where your lungs would be, and one on your stomach. So when you breathe in, I want you really to push out this hand down here so your belly comes out rather than this hand moving, okay? So, are we ready? Good. I'm going to not put my hand up here because the mic's here. But you're going to breathe in and out. Did you feel your belly move? One more time. So something to practice. The diaphragm is a really strong muscle and it needs to be worked. So if you have only been kind of using just the upper part of your lungs, we got to engage that lower lung again. And I think the diaphragm actually stretches out as wide as a tennis court. So it's actually a really important thing. So use it, exercise it, okay? Or the next time that you watch a sleeping baby or a sleeping child, you'll see that their tummy rises because involuntarily that's how they breathe. So they breathe in through their nose and their belly rises. So next time you're looking at a cute little baby, they're doing their diaphragmatic breathing. Remember that, okay? Any questions on those? Yep.
When you're using breathing with the cannula, I'll stop that.
That's okay. Here, let me give you. Oh, you got it.
When I have the cannula in, I know to breathe in through the nose.
Yes.
Where am I supposed to breathe out? Or my nose or my mouth or what?
Still your mouth, yeah.
What about when you're asleep? How do you control that?
Yeah, so actually, that's a good question. She asks, what about when I'm asleep? How do I do pursed lip breathing when I'm asleep? Well, if you practice it when you're awake, the body is more inclined to do some of that whenever you're asleep. So, but more or less, most people are mouth breathers in the evening. That's why you sleep on continuous flow oxygen at night. So it's a continual flow of oxygen going through, not pulse flow, where you're only getting a percentage of the oxygen. So you should be safer that way. But it is hard to say if you're going to be able to control it at night. But that's why the continuous is there. You may have to prop yourself up on some pillows to make sure the airway is open. If you lay flat, it causes the epiglottis and everything to sometimes become lazy. And then it's harder to breathe. And if you're congested, it may help too. Yeah. Yep.
As you know, Patty and I do exercises every morning. It's kind of like Tai Chi. It's called Qigong. A big part of it is breathing. And two things they found that it's interesting. They did a recent study at Columbia on the vagus nerve, which is a controlling nerve in your body for lots of things, including digestion, your stomach, and oxygen saturation. What they found, if we do this now, we do pursed lip breathing in a different way. We do in for a count of 4 and out for a count of 8.
Okay.
Because what they found is the slower exhale actually increases the, I'm not sure how to describe it, but the action of the vagus nerve in the body.
Wow.
It enhances it.
Yeah.
And it's one of the reasons at 8 years post-diagnosis, I'm not on oxygen unless I exercise and run. So I think it's part of it. It's interesting. I'll share the link with you to the article about the vagus nerve and breathing. It's very interesting and something that I'd encourage people to really listen to what you're saying.
Right, and so he mentioned that the longer the exhale, the better. If you can tolerate that, I would say that's very good. If you can tolerate more slow breaths in and slower breath out when you're at rest, that's awesome. When you're go ahead. Okay, when you're exercising, you may have to change up the ratio of the 2 to 4, maybe to a 1 to 3 or 1 to 2, depending on how hard you're going or how fast you're exercising, how fast your breathing rate is. So what I recommend is usually every third or fifth breath, take a good pursed lip breath in, a good deep one. And then in between you can take regular, more shallow breaths, but then get a good in and out every once in a while, so you're clearing that CO2 out of your body and making sure you have enough room for more air to come in, okay? What's your question?
So what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas?
Ha ha ha, that was a good one.
Are you writing that down?
I'm writing that down. But as Bill mentioned, yoga, Tai Chi, just meditation in general, or if anyone has a smartwatch, Apple Watch even, there's an app on here that's the breathing app, and you can turn it on 1 minute, 2 minutes, or 3 minutes, and it actually paces your breathing for you. So it vibrates on your arm when you're to breathe in, and then you blow out until that next vibration starts again. Okay? So that's something you could try. There's apps on your phone for paced breathing and other things, so but those are really good and important for you to try. Okay, and leading out of the breathing, this dyspnea cycle is something that happens to just about everybody. So dyspnea is a fancy term for shortness of breath. So if you're short of breath, what do? Nothing. You stop doing what you're doing, right? If you get short of breath doing an activity, you stop doing it. So that makes you avoid that activity, so you do less activities. And then your muscles get weaker. You get more breathless, and then the cycle starts all over again. You avoid, you sit, you do less, and so your body just gets deconditioned. So turn to the person next to you and say, I have the power, or you have the power to break the cycle. Yeah, I like it. You have the power to break the dyspnea cycle, okay? Exercising regularly, doing the breathing techniques, conserving your energy or pacing yourself. Those are all ways to break that cycle. There are plenty more other ways to do it, but those are the main 3 ways. So anywhere you are on this cycle, break it. Here, break it. Just keep moving, or find an activity that you can do, or change your thought process of the activity. So, or ask for help. More often than not, everyone wants to help people. I mean, that's why we're here. That's what we do. And most often, if you ask someone for help, they're not going to say no. So ask for help. I know it's hard to give up some of your independence a little bit, but ask. If you have things up on the higher shelf, get your grandkids to get it down for you, or your son or daughter, instead of you climbing up on the ladder and falling or something like that, okay? Any questions on the dyspnea cycle? Yes?
Could you talk a little bit to sort of, if you're short of breath, and you're starting to feel anxiety or panic, that just continues
the cycle.
To feed the cycle. You get more stressed, you get more panic.
Yeah.
What are things that can a person do to recover? What body position, standing, sitting, leaning, or what breathing techniques can you use to recover? If you can't grab your oxygen, in other words, if you're, say, you got cocky and you left your oxygen behind, you went to the store, and you get into the middle of the store and you panic. What can you do to calm yourself? What techniques can you recommend?
Right. So most of the time what I recommend is to try your hardest to get to where you're in a comfortable position. So if you're with the basket, you can stop and tripod over it, so you can put your arms over the basket, and so it kind of opens up your lungs and everything. Then do your pursed lip breathing. So try to focus on the counting. The numbers are going to train your brain to, now I'm calm, now I can focus on something other than my breathing. Take your rescue inhaler with you always, unless that doesn't help you per se. But a rescue inhaler sometimes will help if you have asthma or other components of bronchoconstriction. If you can find a place to sit, or if you have one of those walkers you can take with you that has the seat, and you can just walk to where you need to and sit, or walk as far as you can go and sit, that's great. But get to a place where you can try to work in that, the pursed lip breathing, because that's really going to be where your panic's going to calm down. I never want to say avoid any of those things, but conserve your energy better whenever you're going towards a harder task or something. So go slower, breathe through it. Don't hold your breath. That's a main thing that people do, and then they get in a bind. Try to remember to always wear your oxygen. Just because you think you can go out to the mailbox and get your mail and come back in, or you did it last Sunday, doesn't mean this Sunday is the same. The air quality can be bad. The mountain cedar's horrible right now. Hopefully it kind of dies down with this snow, but the humidity or the extreme cold or extreme heat, those things can, mess with your breathing in a heartbeat. So just conserve your energy as best as possible. Sit, or I wouldn't recommend ever lying down, because you're going to be laying back and your lungs can't get a full breath of air. So you may feel more restricted. So sitting, or, tripoding with your legs, or hanging over the basket or the back of a couch would be a good place. Okay? That answered pretty good. Yes?
I found with exercising and with looking at the oximeter, if I exercise and it dips down, and let's say it's 88, as soon as I see that, I stop and I start taking deeper breaths. I hate to admit it, but I was well into my 70s and didn't know how to breathe properly until we met. But it will take you from an 88 to maybe a 92 reading, simply by changing, remembering that I need to use these breathing techniques to get my oxygen level back up.
Right.
Instead of gasping and continuing to try, stop and start taking those deep breaths, and you can watch the oximeter go from 88 to 90 to 92 in a very short period of time.
Absolutely. And it's hard to say what's going to be your trigger or what's going to make you more short of breath. But if you practice the deep breathing or the pursed lip breathing when you're not short of breath, when you get short of breath, your mind will know what to do. It'll kick in and say, "Oh, I need to do my pursed lip breathing." If you've practiced it when you're not in distress.
Is there a maximum time the pursed breathing?
So, like repetitions. Yeah, I would say probably 10 at a time, because if you do it too many times, or if you're moving while doing it, you may get a little dizzy. So make sure, if you're in a seated position or a lying down position when you're doing the diaphragmatic breathing, I'd say 10 breaths is probably just fine in the morning and in the evening. And that will probably do you. Yep. Okay, let's see what else we got. The next slide, I just put a few pieces of exercise equipment together on this slide. So these are a few of the pieces that I recommend to my patients. If you're looking for exercise equipment, it doesn't have to be super expensive. It doesn't have to be, crazy extravagant either. This arm ergometer on the end here is it's $25 on Amazon, and you can put it on the table and you can use it for your arms, or you can set it on the floor and you can use your feet on it too. So it's simple as that. You just have to be a little bit creative. This other arm ergometer's only, I think you could do both arms and legs too, but it's just a little bit different model. So new steps, what I was talking about earlier, is something you rarely see in a regular gym. So this teeter free step is very similar to the elliptical or like a new step, but it's seated, and so you're still getting the same motion. And this is a way cheaper version than the actual new steps, because new steps are about $5,000. So these are at Dick's Sporting Goods. I've seen them in the fitness equipment too at Costco, and Sam's even has seated equipment. So other seated equipment is like recumbent bike or an upright bike. So those are good for orthopedic issues as well. And then the treadmill is usually used for a good clothes hanging rack in the house. But if you have one and you want to start exercising, start at a really slow speed, maybe even slower than what you might walk around in the house or the grocery store or anything like that. Start at a slow speed and then build up in time before you build up in your speed. So minutes is way more important than how fast you're going. That makes sense? And then lastly is like weights or resistance bands. You can find those at Walmart, Target, Amazon, or anywhere. Academy, Dick's Sporting Goods, any of those places. So usually there's numbers on the side that'll correlate to how many pounds it is. But also watch out too, because sometimes they'll put it in kilograms. So make sure you're getting the right conversion to pounds, because it might be heavier than what you think. Otherwise, resistance bands, they come in a lot of different colors. So yellow, or the lightest color, is usually the lightest resistance. And then there's red, green, blue, purple, black. So as you get darker in color, it gets stronger in resistance. So I would start with either a yellow or red, and then maybe migrate up to a green. But any higher than that's pretty rough, pretty tough on you. So when you're at the academy or something, you're looking at a resistance band, make sure that you read the box really well, and if it says light, medium, or hard on the resistance. Okay? Any questions on, yes?
Waiting.
Good.
One of our members here didn't want to ask questions for him, send me a little message.
Sure.
If they exercise and walk 5 days a week, about 30 minutes a day, plus go to the gym and lift some weights twice a week, how will pulmonary rehab help them in both?
So you're meeting the criteria for sure for the exercise. So we already talked about 30 to 60 minutes a day, 3 to 5 days a week. So pulmonary rehab would more benefit you on the education side, so getting more knowledgeable about your diagnosis, or getting one-on-one treatment to make sure that you're doing your pursed-lip breathing right, or that your oxygen, if you're on oxygen, that you're using it correctly, or adjusting it correctly. So there are a number of things that you can still get. A dietitian consult, or stress management, or hopefully if you're working out that much, you're not having any injuries or anything like that, but we can assess for those things. But also smoking cessation, if you're having trouble quitting, we have plans for that stuff too. So if you're already getting the exercise, the education part is probably just as important.
Not to pick on my good friend Dick Morgan. However, I observed him, and the other two big things I think in him going to pulmonary rehab, and I'm going to call it the cheerleading experience and the have you done your stuff today?
Sure. The accountability. He called you out.
I'm not good. I'm not good.
Yeah, I mean, the environment is, I hope, we provide an uplifting environment and that you feel more confident in your abilities and that we can be a source of light for you in a hard time. So we have patients who've just gotten diagnosed to patients who've been diagnosed and are just trying to stay the course, or ones that are right before transplant even. So, yeah, the environment is great. And then you have other patients that have similar problems or burdens that we want to, work through together. So that's what pulmonary rehab brings, for sure. Okay, any other questions? Okay, these are some resources that I put in here, and I will send you the slides if you want to send them out to everybody. The American Association of Cardiovascular and Pulmonary Rehab is AACVPR, and so they have tons of education information for you guys, on all kinds of the diseases, and then they have a directory of locations of pulmonary rehabs, and so you can click on the link, and it actually takes you to the page where it says this is the place, and it has cardiac and pulmonary rehab, just cardiac or just pulmonary, so it can help you find one if you want to. And I guess that's it. Yay!